We're Batman at 89.
Hello, and welcome back to Bat Minutes 89, the podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and scandalize Tim Burton's 1989 Batman movie 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I am another one of the hosts, John Parker, and I feel like we are climbing the base of Mount Doom now. We're almost there.
Yes. And we're not only is John back, well, he never left, technically, but today we're joined for our final guest of the movie, the current host of Prince Track by Track, but a guy who is no stranger to the movies by minutes format, Darren Husted.
Hello.
Hey, Darren, how's it going?
It's going well, you know. Happy to be here towards the very, very end. And I feel like, you know, you've asked me for my very specific knowledge on the person who is serenading us in these final minutes.
Yes. I deliberately didn't look the song up too much, like the production of it and stuff, or listen to your episode on it. In fact, I'd skipped that one deliberately because we were planning to have you on, and I thought I want to get this info fresh, like the audience.
Yeah. But so should explain that, in that this is minute 120, the second to last minute of the movie. Ooh. And it begins with, you know, the credits playing and Prince's Scandalous serenading us. And it ends 1 minute later with the credits still rolling and Prince's Scandalous still serenading us. But, you know, maybe perhaps for almost the last time. So.
Oh, no. You're never allowed to listen to it again. Like, once this is done, we can never play it.
What way should we tackle this first, though? Because I've got notes on the people in the credits and a few notes on Scandalous, the song. Should we do the song first, or should we tackle the credits first?
I feel like you've missed the important point about Scandalous, which is it's Scandalous with an exclamation point.
Oh, yes, of course. Don't forget that.
Technically, should be going Scandalous.
Yeah.
The only way to say it, as far as I'm aware.
Is it Is it an exclamation mark to sound excited, or is it an exclamation mark to be aggressive? Like, that's scandalous.
I don't know, because, I mean, obviously the artwork for the single was taken from the video, which is just Prince in, like, a red suit, singing in a dark space with a microphone stand and, you know, occasionally doing the splits.
It does feel like after all the production of, you know, the video for Bat Dance and the video for Partyman and stuff, and it kind of got to, can we just do, like, just Prince just with a microphone or something? Do we have to do a whole song and dance for the next one as well? Because it was far into the run of singles, because I know this was Scandalous was the fourth single released from the Prince Batman album.
Yeah.
And the fourth of five. And I noticed that because the first one was Bat Dance, released June 8th, 1989, which is my birthday, actually. Oh. I would have been, not my date of birth, but my birthday is June 8th, so I would have been 2 when Bat Dance was released.
Prince did it just for you, man. Just for you.
And actually, weirdly enough, it's the song on the soundtrack that I like the least, so, come on, step up your game a bit, man. Come on.
It's also that's also close to Prince's birthday, because Prince's birthday is the 7th of June. So that would have been he would have been 31, I think, the day that.
Oh man, because I'm 31 this June, and now it's like I'm nowhere near the level of recording Bat Dance. Like, I'm not on that level. I'm really the next 2 months, I'm going to have to really whip myself into shape here.
Yeah, if you haven't released a Bat Dance single by the time you're 31, then what have you done with your life?
Exactly. Yes.
This podcast, damn it.
And but yeah, the second single then, Partyman, but followed by The Arms of Orion, which isn't even in the movie.
No, then, it's not great, that one. It's not my favorite.
And then I was a bit shocked to see the final song, The Future, which I actually featured on Darren's show, the Prince Track by Track, where you're going through each Prince song track by track. I was on for the episode about the future.
Yeah.
But I do find it really shocking to see, like, released May 18th, 1990. So that's nearly a full year after the first single. And that seems like excessive to me. Like, you're done promoting that album, but like nearly a year later. Like, seems crazy.
Nah, milk it, man. Milk it. Do the Star Wars thing. They were selling those toys forever. They still are.
I don't know. Was that a common thing? Because now I feel like you get like bombarded with singles. Like there'll be a new one from an artist every week for like maybe 2 months, and then it's like, right, that's that album done, and then you don't hear from them for ages, and then they pop up with a new barrage of singles, and then that lasts maybe 3 months, and then they disappear again. And this seems like Prince was like, no, it's just saturating it out over a long period of time. Maybe it was justified because the film was such a huge hit. But though then by the time the future came around, maybe people was just a bit like, yeah, we got it. That Dick Tracy's out next week. Who cares? You know?
I mean, it's unusual because Prince, he had 5 singles released off Purple Rain. Should go without saying. His biggest album. The film was number 1. Album stuck around for like 31 weeks or something. Number 1 in America. So 5 singles kind of justified. And then his next few albums, it was just like 4 singles off each. And then for the album before Batman, there was only 3 singles. So Warner Brothers weren't really in the habit. I mean, Sign of the Times has like 16 songs, and they only released 4 singles off that. So they had way more tracks. There's only 9 tracks on the Batman album. To release 5 of them is really kind of milking it. And like even from Prince's point of view, Thieves in the Temple came out like, I don't know, 8 weeks after The Future was released. So his next project was already kind of on the runway, so to speak. Oh. So I think Prince himself had kind of moved on from the whole Batman thing. I think it was just Warner Brothers wanting to try and get one more kind of single, because the gap between Scandalous and The Future is about 6 months in terms of release. So there was a big enough gap.
It's really all about the B-sides, though, isn't it? I think that's at that point. That's why you're buying these singles. Surely you've heard this song, the A-side, a million times by this point. So you're buying it for that B-side.
Yeah. Well, I have to ask though, both you fellas, like, since now we can just relax and just talk about the Prince soundtrack here for a minute. What's your favorite song from the soundtrack? Because I have to admit, Scandalous wouldn't be my fave. I have to say, I wouldn't like it. I find it very odd that the film actually ends on this tune, because it's such tonally different from everything else that's been provided to us throughout. And like, you usually consider like the end of a big, blockbuster would to end on like the fanfare and stuff, and even like later Batman movies, I always remember like the end of The Dark Knight, like the end of the end credits goes back into everything kind of crashing, and then you just get that Joker theme coming again. Oh, and it's just like they really linger on the fact of like, remember all the good times. And this is a bit like, here's a song that doesn't really feature directly in the film, like it's sampled, but it's not, it's just a kind of sensuous love theme.
It's an odd one.
It seems it's an odd note to end on, I thought. But
I like the song plenty. As a final song, it's peculiar. I agree.
I feel like you've skipped over the most important thing, which is it was co-written by Prince's dad.
No, you can't write that song with your dad. That's wrong.
Yes, John Nelson. The thing is, John Nelson was like a jazz pianist, and some of the earlier songs that Prince has written with his dad, most people feel that the contribution that came from his father was something to do with, like a piano line or a chord sequence or something like that. I don't think anyone ever thinks that Prince's dad was co-writing the lyrics to Scandalous with Prince. I think it's like there's some element of the music that Prince maybe heard and was like, can I use that as the basis for the song? So it's most likely just the kind of the music that is something that his father contributed, rather than.
I mean, it's even worse though, considering, like, I know you'll be aware, Darren, of like the various rumors, like, because obviously they have the extended cut of Scandalous that came out like later on. The Scandalous Sex Suite.
Oh yes, yeah.
With the three parts, which were titled "The Crime, the Passion, and the Rapture."
Oh yeah.
But this is the one that like we talked about it earlier in the movie, that the rumor circling around that Kim Basinger does provide like a sexual moan in that version of the song, but there's rumors that persist that her and Prince were actually having sex, and this was a legitimate sexual moan. But if you're considering like, oh yeah, I co-wrote this song with my dad, and then I got my girlfriend in, and we put sounds of us having sex, that would be so weird. Why would you do that?
It'd be weird for anyone else. It's Prince, though. Nothing shocks me.
I mean, the thing is, as well, you've missed the fact that with the Scandalous Sex Suite, there was also a B-side, which was just called Sex. And that goes on for... that's actually the longest track that's on there. So after you've had the crime, the passion, and the rapture, Prince is like, I feel like I've been dancing about it too much. Here is the next song. It is simply called Sex. That is what is going on here.
Well, you know what you're getting. And if it's the longest one, maybe he's trying to sell himself. You know, like, this, I can keep going.
It's like, and this is in 15 parts, and the last part's just called The Stamina.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you're familiar with the Prince song Peach... Yeah, that is the moan that is sampled of Kim Basinger. That is on that song as well. That is like the bass. Like if you there's like there's like a sample that's repeated in the background, and that's Kim Basinger that's on that's on Peach, uncredited.
Fair enough.
So Prince apparently recorded enough material with Kim Basinger that he could use the samples on several songs over the next kind of like decade.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they actually were getting it on then and getting freaky, because that would give you quite a lot of material, I'm sure.
But after talking about the actual writing process of the song and whatnot, because I was always quite curious about this, in that we've talked about the writing of the score and and the pop soundtrack for this film, and the fact that like at one point Danny Elfman they were trying to get him to work with Prince to come up with a score, and then he was like no and walked away for a while, and then it kind of became like, no, he's handling this part, and then Prince is doing these songs, and that's all well and good, but you can't help but notice though, in like Danny Elfman, his actual score has elements of Scandalous in it. And look, we've even mentioned though in the past that his da, 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 it seems to be a reference to Bernard Herrmann's score for Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Oh.
But it does also sound a bit similar to like Prince's da, 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 da. Like it's got the elements of Scandalous in there, and then the fact that within the score, like Scandalous is sampled in the track Kitchen Surgery, Face Off, and the love theme and the finale. Like it seems as if like Danny Elfman definitely heard this song and then worked elements into it, and this kind of ostensibly is Bruce and Vicky's love theme. And it seems like a very odd way to work with, like, this has been just a very strange process of like not wanting to work with Prince but then still sampling bits of his tracks, and then the Prince know about that he was doing that, and what was going on there. It seems all over the place.
It's worth saying that this track was recorded on the 17th of October 1988, so that's like one of the earliest tracks that Prince had. Also, because most of the stuff for the Batman soundtrack was recorded like January, February, March 1989. So, this would have been one of the only songs that would have been finished that Danny Elfman probably could have heard before, he started doing the scoring. Whereas, the rest of the songs, Prince was pretty much working. I mean, I can't even remember which song it is, but there's one of them that was worked upon about a week before the album was actually released.
Oh my God.
So, and obviously you got to remember as well, Prince, particularly like, with Trust, that was a last minute addition after 200 Balloons was dropped. He had, Dance with the Devil, which, was on the album all the way up until like, I think April, May, and then was just dropped in favor of Arms of Orion, of all things. So, like, there was a lot of kind of... I mean, as happens with pretty much every single Prince album, you know, there's a track listing that exists when Prince kind of, you know, introduces the idea to Warner Brothers that he's going to put yet another album out, while they're, like, pleading with him to just take a year off and promote an album. So there's always a very... yeah, they're like, you know, get off the treadmill, Prince. Just go on tour for 6 months and promote the album you already have. Just stop stop telling us about Graffiti Bridge right now. So
never stop.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because there's always like an early track list of pretty much any Prince album after Purple Rain, because you know pre-Purple Rain pretty much everything Prince recorded ended up on an album, but after that he had a bit of luxury to be able to just record wherever he wanted and then pick songs. You know, or something that, you know, with Sign of the Times he had something like 30 or 40 songs that he was going to put on the album as a triple album, then it ended up getting, you know, taken down to a double album. And so, you know, there's lots of songs that he has kind of lying around. And so with this, I mean, you know, it suggests to me that in 1988, no one's thinking about Prince doing a Batman album. And so he's just recorded this song just, you know, because. And then, you know, at some point, you know, someone's been like, well, can you give us an idea of what you're going to do? And he's been like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this song, and then there's going to be one called, you know, Dance with the Devil, and there's The Future, and Electric Chair. And, like, he's then kind of got a track listing together kind of early 1989, and that's when he starts kind of, you know, with Danny Elfman saying, no, I don't want that song, and that's when he starts kind of changing the songs and moving the kind of the list around of what the final album would be. But this is, like, one of the earliest songs that, you know, is kind of on there in terms of, you know, the fact that it was going to end up on a Batman album.
I don't think we ever talked about that at the time. Like, Dance with the Devil, like, would that have? I'm assuming would that have been inspired by the script with the whole dance? You know, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah,
or
that is sampled heavily in that song. It's like a song that just basically is around that sample of Jack Nicholson saying that.
Oh, there you go.
So it's kind of like It's kind of like an early version of what Bat Dance was going to be. It was going to be in place of Bat Dance. It was going to be after. It was going to be the final track of the album.
Yeah,
and then
that would make more sense at the end. That would like be a good finale, I think.
Yeah. You know, Joker's dead. Here's the song that, you know, represents the Joker instead of here's Bat Dance, which is just lots of things kind of thrown together.
Yeah. I mean, I like Bat Dance, but it's weird. It's really strange, let's be honest.
Yeah, and the thing is, you asked, like, what's the favourite songs? And I would say, I mean, if I had to rank them in any kind of order, I mean, I would put Scandalous at least in my top 3. I would say with Partyman,
same,
and probably. I mean, I don't know. I flip flop between either The Future or Electric Chair, depending on my mood.
Oh my God, we are exactly the same. That was the answer I was going to deliver. I mean, Partyman is an obvious choice, but who the hell doesn't love grooving to that? Come on, everybody loves that when you put it on.
That's getting ahead of ourselves, but just an image of John there, just like Bruce Wayne at the end of Batman Returns with Selina, just like, we're the same. Split
we are.
Right down the center. But that's a whole other near the end of the next movie.
But who is who?
Maybe we'll find out then. We'll have to bring you back for that episode to Darren to talk about. Like, let's get this sorted out, Bob.
It's set in stone. Sign the contract. Get it sent over.
I mean, I think like the thing is, you know, Bad Dance is such an odd track. I think when I reviewed it, I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 still, because it's just such an enjoyable. It's like a thing that, you know, when like Batman came out, it was the first like 12 rated film in the UK. And it came out, I don't know, I think like 2 weeks before my birthday when I turned 12. So, you know, it like just the whole thing of, you know, I mean, a lot of people say this today, like comic book films are for like 12-year-old boys. Well, that's literally what I was when Batman came out. So, you know, so that you know, that it felt like everything to do with Batman was kind of like, you know, directed at me. And one of my friends actually had the picture disc 7-inch, you know, bat symbols shaped, like vinyl. And I can't even remember what the B-side was, but I remember him being a huge fan of, you know, like the A-side. And then when he listened to 200 Balloons, I think he hated that song because he was like, "Oh no, this is terrible."
That's a great song. You can't.
I know. Yeah, I mean, he's I think this thing is he didn't really kind of expect that to be the B-side, like to Batman, to Batman, should I say? Like he was a fan of the character and he's a fan of the film, but 200 Balloons it was kind of a little out of left field for him. But like the thing is, I mean, I know that Vicky Waiting was written for Prince's girlfriend at the time, Anna Fantastic, and was called Anna Waiting. So I know that that's kind of just a song that's been repurposed for this, so it doesn't really fit with the soundtrack. And I think The Arms of Orion is like a minute too long and just too slow. So like I don't really enjoy like those tracks. But then, Lemon Crush and Bat Dance are both kind of... Lemon Crush is such a weird song for the soundtrack because it like you listen to it, you're like, what is he talking? What is the Lemon Crush? He's ready for it, but what the hell is it?
I think what were the ideas we came up? We came up with about 4 ideas on your show for what it could possibly be, which didn't really help us narrow it down.
No. Not at all.
I think the closest I got was what did I say? I think I came up with the idea that it might be like a hot blonde or something. That was about as close as I could get. Lemon, yellow.
That kind of made sense. Yeah. So I mean, I think between Electric Chair and Future, I think sometimes I favour Electric Chair just because I like the guitar line a bit more than the Future, because the Future is a bit too much kind of like Euro dance, like late 80s stuff.
Oh, that's why I like it.
And I'm not really a big fan of that kind of thing. So, I'd say probably just, Electric Chair a hair over, the Future. But sometimes there's days where I'm like, I prefer the Future over Electric Chair. It just depends on my mood, really.
Yeah. I'm still dwelling on the fact that, like, I know that John's girlfriend has blonde hair. I'm just wondering now, has he been trying calling her Lemon Crush just to see? Like, she's just getting little letters at work and going, like, to my Lemon Crush.
Yeah. Well,
he's like, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. She'll fall for it eventually.
When I'm recording the podcast, she is waiting. So,
there you go.
Lauren Waiting.
Yeah.
We're talking, though, about, like... the genericness of some of the lyrics for songs that were clearly not written for this album, but were sort of brought in.
Hey, now let me just stop it one sec. Even the ones that were written for the album, he's just done Prince songs. They're not Batman songs. They're all just Prince tracks. They could be on any Prince album.
Yeah, I like to that end, like the lyrics to "Scandalous" are just they're almost typical Prince lyrics in the fact that it's very clearly about love and it's very clearly about sex and. You could apply it to Vicky and Bruce Wayne, I guess, but it doesn't specifically lean into anything about their characters. Like, I'm assuming within the liner notes of the Prince album, I know that he was very specific about like, well, there's songs written from the perspective of the Joker, like Partyman, obviously, and then there's ones written from the perspective of Batman. But like, Scandalous could be that almost comes across as if it's more from Vicky's perspective than anything else, really.
I think that's
particularly because he's singing in it.
I think
it is.
Yeah, I think it is. If I remember rightly, if I remember the kind of the character assignments that he gave to each of the tracks, I'm almost certain that Vicky Vale is the character that is singing "Scandalous."
I think that's right. Yeah, I've got the record downstairs. I'd have to go and get it, but it tells you in the notes inside. The different characters who do the songs, and I'm 99% sure that's her.
Yeah. Because it works in the fact that, like, well, you could one go, well, that's potentially why it's sung in as sort of this higher register. It's like, well, it's more of an effeminate vocal, and there's even like because elements like lines like, tonight I'm gonna be your fantasy. That doesn't sound like something Bruce Wayne would be saying. That's more like Vicky saying like, oh, I've seen this sort of inverted weirdo who's a bit sort of, he doesn't seem like he gets out much, but like I'm giving myself to him and I'm going to be everything he ever wanted in a girl, like all this kind of
he's not really in the market to be a woman's fantasy man, is he?
No, particularly you have to consider him as Michael Keaton as well. It's like, well, I don't know, maybe some people find him attractive, but I don't know if he's considered to be a sex bot. But and there's one other line as well that really stands out to me is just like, oh, as a real like, oh, Prince, come on, man, is the touch it and explode. And it's just like, oh, come on, dude.
I mean, the thing is, you're saying touch it and explode, but Prince sings touch it and explode, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
He
Very
really kind
different.
of gets into that line. He makes it clear what's going on.
And there's a bit like in the video when he's singing it, like the camera goes down because he's kind of touching his leg and is going into his crotch, and then he brings the finger up and he kind of like ushers you back up to his face. And it's like this guy, subtlety is not a thing that he's familiar with. I don't think.
No.
Because everything about it is just like, Prince, dude, just turn it off for 5 seconds, would you?
Well, I remember from our episode of Prince Track by Track where we were doing Lemon Crush. I mean, I always just thought, oh, this is a fun song. This is a fun little tune. But when you actually look at the words, it's 100% just Prince again. Because, every time you do me, Lemon Crush, it's very, very obvious what they're talking about. And he doesn't hide it one bit. He doesn't give a damn that he's releasing this as a Batman single. He's like, screw it. It's my song. Do what I want.
Yeah, I mean, Lemon Crush has that wonderful little verse where it's like, if I'm working at my jobber, I'm the victim, you're the robber.
Yes.
It's like, no matter how much I try to stop her, I can't help thinking about you. But and I guess that's the only kind of like Batmanish thing. It's like, oh, he's talking about a robber. I mean, I guess that's something to do with a Batman thing. But,
vaguely.
Yeah. He's like, okay, there you go, Warner Brothers. That's the Batman part of this particular song. Let's get back to how I'm ready for the crush, and all it takes is a little bitty. Which is such a good line. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Scandalous as well is, it is just literally. I mean, you say kind of like Prince by numbers, but I mean, I love when he kind of uses his falsetto like this, and you're talking about Prince, who's like 11 years into his career, so he used to in interviews he spoke about how when he was younger he would kind of almost have to sing in his falsetto because he didn't have any like real lower vocal range. So as he got older, he was able to kind of expand his range a little bit, which is why practically like his first like 5 albums, it's just him kind of like whisper singing. But as he got older, he was able to kind of, he uses his range a lot better. So, the times where he does a song like this, where he's kind of all in falsetto, for most of the song, there's a few bits where he kind of goes a bit lower. It's kind of this is like rare, like this is what people think of when they think of Prince, because obviously, it's such a trademark for his falsetto, early on. But, by the time you get to this point, it's rare that he's doing a song that is kind of this falsetto based. And also he has those little kind of like squeals when he's like got the, when he says like the word willing, and he kind of, at the end, he doesn't quite say the G, but he kind of squeaks.
Oh, yeah.
So he kind of had those little weird vocal affectations that, that's what he used to do really early on. So it's kind of interesting that he's in this song, he's kind of going back to that and kind of, kind of putting the falsetto back on and kind of almost playing into the image of him being, nothing but kind of sex from head to toe.
Despite being a Prince fan and having numerous albums, I always forget how low he sometimes goes. And when he busts that out, I'm like, well, what the hell's going on here? It catches me off guard every time.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because this is going to be slightly out of left field, but the video always reminds me of a joke that Lenny Henry did on a special where he talked about how sexual Prince was, and he goes, you just see him with the mic stand, and he goes, and that when he gets home, there's like a speaker waiting for him saying, "What have you done with my daughter?" And so that's always, whenever I see this video, that's always that joke always kind of sticks in my head of like, how sexual kind of Prince was. And particularly, the video, it's mesmerizing because it's just Prince, against this dark background, just with a microphone. That's the whole thing. And, that's kind of all he needs to kind of convey what's going on. But like you say, the camera does kind of go to his crotch a few times just to emphasize the point.
See, he is sexual. I think I've said it on both the podcasts, actually, ours and yours, but I think a good word is more sensual. Like he's a giving lover. If you, in the lyrics, isn't he? And it's always very mutual. Like he'll come on to you, but he'll always seek permission to go further. It's a nice thing about Prince. I like that. It's very consensual love songs.
I mean, my favorite part of Scandalous is where he's like, oh girl, the things you do, you make me do. Genius is the only way to describe you. And I'm like, I mean, if Kim Basinger wasn't sold before, meeting Prince, I'm sure he just had to sing those words to her, and she was like, yeah, sure, let's go into the studio and record a song called Sex. Let's get going on it.
I'd win anyone over.
Yeah.
Shall we touch on some of the credits here we see as well?
Yeah,
Of
there weren't that many that were interesting to me. I found one that I particularly liked because when it came up with sculptor Edward Butler, I thought, oh, sculptor, that sounds intriguing. So I had a little look at him, and he's worked on some huge movies. Like he's done this, Alien, Full Metal Jacket, Braveheart, High Spirits, not quite as big. 100, 101 Dalmatians, and
this is like the 5th or 6th time we've had to mention High Spirits.
Yes,
as well.
we bring High Spirits up quite a bit. And then, of course, everyone's favourite, The Phantom Menace. Clearly the best Star Wars movie, right? Yeah, we're all in agreement. Of course.
Obviously, it sounds like a guy who's not willing to travel outside of England very much.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I'll sculpt, but only if you shoot it nearby. You know, like I'm not traveling too far. You know, I've got a big stone to bring with me or something. I don't know what he was sculpting in this particular thing. I don't know. Maybe he did some of the stuff that was in the gallery for the Partyman scene.
Ah, yeah, that would make sense.
I do know that's Edward Butler, but then his cohort in that was Keith Short. And apparently Keith Short, he's got his own Wikipedia page, and apparently he boasts that he was involved in crafting the Batmobile, but he also crafted the Ark of the Covenant for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And as well as Emperor Palpatine's chair in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, he's my hero then.
So... yeah. So I guess if you look at that chair and then look at the Batmobile, it's like, oh, I wonder if there's any... we could see the beginnings of the Batmobile in Palpatine's chair.
Oh, Niall, as of recording, my birthday is coming up. I think a replica of that chair is in order. We could do a Patreon episode to buy it.
Now he's going to be really surprised when he opens that iron board cover.
The thing is, I'm getting old. I wouldn't mind that. That'd be fine.
No, it's just a few names popped out to me, mostly because we get into the cast list, and there's a few people who we didn't talk about who actually get their names shouted out, but here. But the only one that stood out to me beforehand was the standby prop man called Eric Strange, and the only thing about that is, either of you familiar with the hit dramedy from the mid-aughts, Being Erica? Which was a show, like, it was about some girl who went to see a therapist and then complained about all the problems of her life, and the therapist could send her back in time and she could fix everything.
Why can't my therapist do that?
You never know. Have you ever asked them? You never know. You won't.
That's a good point.
Ask and you may receive. But my problem with that was always, like, it was very high on the quirkiness. Like, it was in that kind of vein of, there's a lot of shows, like, at the time, like, had, like, put like the quirky dramedy, those kind of Ally McBeal plus 10.
That's
so
what I was thinking. Ally McBeal or Scrubs or something like that.
Yeah, and you had like Joan of Arcadia and Wonder Falls and things like that. But the main character's name was Erica Strange, and I was like, oh come on, Erica Strange. Who's gonna be called that? Like, and it's such a quirky show. It's like you're trying way too hard. But now seeing that there's a guy called Eric Strange, I'm like, oh, maybe I was too hard on Being Erica. But
I mean, Being Erica did have guest appearances from Tatiana Maslany and Sarah Gadon. Sarah Gadon, mostly known for collaborating with David Cronenberg. Like she's in David Cronenberg's last 3 or 4 films. So out of
you were a secret like Being Erica superfan, Darren, and you've just been waiting to I've been hoping someone's going to bring it up on a podcast.
No, I'm just extremely good at Googling stuff very quickly.
Oh, okay.
See, my favorite thing about that, in a similar fashion, because I saw that name, but my favorite thing was that there was a category of standby people: standby carpenter, standby painter, standby rigger, standby plasterer, standby stagehand. It's like, do you really need to list them if they're standby? Like, really?
Are they all standing in a row as well? Just like doing standbys. We just got our one dedicated corner in the studio, and we all sit there until we're needed.
Yeah, I picture them on a bench, like football substitutes, just waiting, they're warming up, they're getting ready. He's bringing me on, quick.
But you can only use 3 per day, and then that's it. No more, unfortunately.
Union rules, anyway.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we need another rigger. Oh, I'm sorry, you've already used your standbys for today. You can't get another one. You just have to make do for the moment.
But then, of course, you had the classic credit that everyone always ponders, the best boy, Bill Thornhill. And, of course, now we all know from that Thomas F. Wilson song that he wrote about, the guy who played Biff Tannen in Back to the Future. And he's a stand-up these days. And he's written a song about all the questions he frequently gets. Yep. And it's, all that sort of, like, what's Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. What's Michael J. Fox like? Nice guy. What's Michael J. Fox like? He's an alien. Stop asking me the question. one of the lines in it is, what does a key grip do? Set up lights. What does the best boy do? Help the key grip. So now it's like eternally answered what a best boy is by Biff Tannen of Back to the Future.
I think that song is what taught me what those two things are. Because everyone else in the world, for years I was thinking, what the hell are they?
Yeah, oh, totally. Well, now you know.
And surely the best boy should be a dog. Every male dog is best boy.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? On the credits for Airplane, they also had a worst boy, which apparently was done by Adolf Hitler. So, I mean, they're not wrong.
How have I never seen that?
Well, apparently, I think there is Airplane Minute is starting. Like, not the Jim O'Kane, like the airport minute, the Airplane, the Zucker Brothers one.
Oh.
So I'm sure they'll get around to talking about that eventually.
Yeah.
When they eventually get to the credits.
That is a film primed for minute by minute treatment, because there is literally so much going on in every minute that I got seen that film like 20 times, and I guarantee if I listen to that show, they'll be pointing at things in the background that you never noticed.
Oh yeah, and like references you didn't get.
Yeah, full on detailed jokes that you just didn't even pick up on because there's so much going on in the foreground.
Oh, the beauty of that is you could then follow it up with like Naked Gun. But then you need to stop after a while, because even Leslie Nielsen goes downhill a bit.
As like Dracula Dead and Loving It Minutes.
I love that movie. Don't you diss that movie.
I thought you were going to say Spy Hard then for a second.
Spy Hard is right. I grew up loving Spy Hard, but now watching it, I like it because I grew up watching it. But I can see that it's actually not great.
No.
But I would fully be in favor of Spy Hard Minute if they got all the hosts of Die Hard Minutes to come back and to do 2 weeks of Spy Hard Minute as well.
Yes, do it. Jim O'Kane, man. Get that together. Yeah. Come on.
But yeah, other credits. We do have, as I mentioned, some people in the cast who I don't think in their scenes we got talking about. And I thought a few of them were worth mentioning because we do get down beneath, all the main players of, Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson and Kim and whatnot. We get down to Crime Lord 1, who is obviously featured in the Joker's, like the electric buzzer scene. And if you Google the guy who plays him, Victor Wong, he is the Asian sort of looking gangster sitting there. I thought it was a bit weird because he's credited beneath Fratelli, who was the guy who gets electrocuted. But he's above Ricorso, who's the big fat guy who gets like a good couple of lines. But this guy's just sitting there. So like, why is he getting credit above him?
Yeah, it's not alphabetical. I mean, is it in order of appearance?
I don't think so. No, because it's like...
Well, it goes Bruce Wayne, and then Jack Napier, and then Vicky. So I mean, it could be. Oh, maybe it is just that guy is a bigger actor and said, "I want to be higher up." Like, but people actually argue over this, but like, it's sad, but they do.
It's just bizarre though. It's just like you think he would be like, "Could I have a line?" But because if you're sitting there with no lines, are you not just like an extra? It's bizarre to me.
Maybe he didn't want a line. He's like, "Don't give me any lines. I just want to come in, do my part, go home, have a sandwich."
Yeah. But I've gone through his IMDb though, and he actually does have like a fairly impressive lineup.
There you go.
He's in obviously Doctor Who at some point.
Oh, who isn't in this damn film?
Not the Bill, unfortunately.
Ah,
He's in Monty Python's Flying Circus as a character that Devo fans will like called Mr. Kamikaze. So there you go. He's also featured in Kiss of the Dragon, which is a Jet Li movie, which I always remember is like the last movie I remember Bridget Fonda being in.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bridget Fonda sort of just disappeared from the public eye, and that's relevant because Bridget Fonda is married to Danny Elfman. So
it's all connected.
Yeah. And and then Victor Wong went on to he's also in the very British, it ain't half hot, mum. It's,
Bloody hell, our American listeners will be confused.
yeah.
They won't even know what that means.
It's about a bunch of British soldiers stationed in India during World War II, and it's a show that the BBC refuses to repeat because it's so racially insensitive now that they're like, nope, we'll repeat. Those episodes of Faulty Towers where there's racial things going on that would be very uncomfortable, but this thing's that bad that we're like, no, it ran for 4 seasons. Don't care. Just shut it down.
To be fair, though, with Faulty Towers, usually you're kind of laughing at and having a go at John Cleese. Well, his character. Bloody Basil Fawlty. Why do I call him John Cleese?
Yeah, and then Victor Wong then went, most notably, at the end, he was also the old Asian prisoner in Batman Begins. So, I guess, came back full circle. He was in the first Batman. He came back for Batman Begins. There you go. So.
How could he not?
I mean, my personal objection to It Ain't Half Hot, Mom, if I may just quickly say, is it contains way too much Windsor Davis for my liking.
Yes. Our Americans, again, probably won't have a clue what we're talking about.
No. They can look up Windsor Davis and they can see what I'm talking about.
Google it, because apparently our show is most popular in California. So Californians, Google it.
I think it's because in California we sound so like cool and exotic.
Oh yeah,
like, oh, these sexy accents. And over here, I know people will. I can't stand the sound of my voice. I'm stunned that other people can. And then, of course, one of the other credits who I do remember at the time in the episode, because I remember it was when Crystal Beth was on, and we were saying, oh, it's weird you can't get any details on this character. You can get yellow trenchcoat Joker or Napier hood, but you can't get this one. But yeah, the TV technician, there was a lady who had a line and everything, and we couldn't find information on her way back then. But the names pops up right here, Lachelle Carl, and she's actually got a fairly impressive career because notably playing a TV technician in the newsroom. She's in several episodes of the new Doctor Who as a newscaster.
Bloody hell! So the Doctor Who thing's continuing.
Yeah, totally. And she's also in Torchwood as Trinity Wells. So there you go. She's also did a voice for Alien Isolation, the video game. Oh
God, I love that game.
Yeah, I love and I hate that game because it nearly killed me getting to the end of it. But I guess I made it, but I'll never play it again.
I felt like I had actually survived the alien. That's how I felt at the end of that. I was like, oh my God.
I just remember at the time, I think my last stint of playing it was a good 8-hour stint of just I'm not coming back to this again tomorrow. I'm finishing this damn thing tonight. It's great, but it's just I can't because it's so difficult. It's such a difficult game. And
genuinely terrifying. I am not ashamed to admit that I every 5 minutes was screaming. Ah!
And then, she also does the voice of Muck in the US dub of Bob the Builder, which is, talking about our accents being exotic, but does Bob the Builder need to be dubbed in the US?
Oh, God. I once watched a US show where they had someone on from Manchester, our Manchester. I know there's one over there, apparently, I think. But so they subtitled him. So there you go.
I think Manchester's in New Hampshire.
Yes, actually. Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah. I was saying that now, Manchester by the Sea, starring Casey Affleck.
There we go.
Brother of Ben Affleck, the current Batman.
It's all connected.
Or is he? We don't know. And also, co-starring Michelle Williams, former partner to Heath Ledger, who obviously played the Joker.
You can't escape Batman.
Crazy.
The whole world is connected by Batman. We've discovered this.
I think it might be true. I'm looking forward to Returns to see can we connect every living person somehow to Batman Returns as well?
No, we'll fall flat on our face on that one.
That's just literally the master cast a group of people in that movie who have no connection to anyone else in the universe.
I literally have no other notes on these people, right? Because all the cast members, if they're of note, I've brought them up. Or you've brought them up. Yeah. And everyone else, it's do I really need to bring up these random people who have never worked again? Or they've done one thing?
Yeah. I do have a kind of fondness looking at them now, but like, oh, there's John Dare. Remember when we talked about John Dare? And Bruce McGuire. And then coming to the Napier Hoods, and like we talked about all of them. Wait a minute, there was a guy called Jazzer James.
Jazzer James, that was my only other note. I love that name. Jazzer James.
It's like, I think I would remember bringing him up. What the hell?
I wonder if he's a musician. It sounds like a musician's name, doesn't it? I'm going to look him up right now. Let's see.
I think he's mostly a stunt performer, I think.
Yeah, looking at it, he's done Aliens, Willow, and Octopussy.
I think it's one of those cases where if you have to have guys who look like heavies, they all have to be stuntmen just in case they get thrown somewhere, so that they can do a fall, and you don't have to worry about getting a second person in to be a stuntman for this guy who's basically is never going to say anything.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's cost effective because he's not really acting. And oh my God, wait, everything's connected. He's in high spirits doing stunts.
Oh, there you go.
Boom. Oh, he's also doing a stunt in one episode of the British Empire. What stunt could that possibly be?
Always a stunt-heavy show that was, if I remember the British Empire correctly. It was left, right, centre. People being thrown through things, falling off things.
Explosions.
It was practically, I believe, in the 90s, we used to call it the Cirque du Soleil of BBC sitcoms. There was that much people being thrown around. Obviously, this is a joke because literally most of it was just people sitting around getting shouted at by Rimmer from Red Dwarf.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I think that's my last note of content for this minute. Second to last minute of the entire film. Oh. But we would always ask our guests, though, Darren, at the end, about their personal history with the film and their history with Batman as a character. So if you have the floor now, if you want to divulge anything.
I mean, obviously, I've already said I was 12 when this film came out, and this was the first 12 certificate film. So you would think, and the fact that it came out, close to my 12th birthday, you would think I saw it at the cinema, but I never did. In fact, of these four Batman films, the only one that I ever saw at the cinema was Batman and Robin.
Man!
Hey, you're not alone. Same with me again. But are we the same person?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So that was, I think, only because it came out around like my 20th birthday or something, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna have to go to the cinema for my birthday. So what can I see? And it was like Batman and Robin was like the only film out. So I was like, oh well, I guess I'm seeing this then.
You were excited. Yeah. We're not the same person then. I was thrilled.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, having done, a minute by minute Clueless podcast, I was a big fan of Alicia Silverstone. That was the thing that I was going to see that film for, was, to see her as Batgirl.
She wasn't at her best. I don't know if it's her fault. I mean, there's plenty wrong with that movie. Not the best role and not the best acting performance from her, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get too much into a film that you're probably going to be covering in 3 or 4 years' time.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of talk of bullying on the set over her weight, and they would kind of deliberately go to suit fittings and they would have them slightly smaller, so they would make her feel that she had to lose weight to fit in the suit.
Oh, that's horrible.
When really they did the suit like half a size down to kind of I know that kind of stuff went on.
That's awful, because I mean, you could say she looks a bit bigger than, say, Clueless, but she's still like incredibly slim. Like there's nothing wrong. Like she's not huge or anything.
This is like dating back to like Batman's comments to Vicky Vale, like, oh, I think you weigh a little more than 108. Is this his common practice in Gotham City to harass women about their weight? I mean, come on, to harass perfectly slim women about their weight. For one thing,
maybe that's why she's not giving the best performance, because she wasn't happy on the set, and that kind of came through.
Well, and let's be honest, the script, but we'll get to that as well.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you can get into that more. Yeah, I remember the film coming out because obviously that bat logo was literally everywhere. Like you could not escape it. And I obviously I've told you guys, but I'll reveal to the listeners. During that summer, I went to Blackpool, which again, this obviously means nothing to American listeners. With my dad and my two brothers, and we went to like play the games on one of the piers. And there was this stand, and it was selling tons of Batman merchandise, but it was all bootleg merchandise. That's how big the film was. Is like people who were just like kind of at the end of a pier in Blackpool were like, I'm going to have to get in on this Batman action. So I actually have a Batman badge it has the same kind of Batman logo, but it's literally hand drawn by like felt
It's
on
beautiful.
a circular badge, and it's not quite stamped like correctly, so it's slightly off on the one edge. So it's a work of art. So I had that, and I had a keyring that had roughly the same kind of wrong logo. Basically, instead of being an oval, it was a circle. And I had the collectors, like the trading cards, which basically gave the entire story of the film away, including the fate of the Joker at the end. I remember one of the cards towards the end was literally like, "The Joker is dead." It's like the title of the card. And it just says, like, the Joker has fallen from the belfry, and all that's left is his voice laughing on a voice box. Like, it literally described his death, and I was like,
you the whole thing.
right. Yeah, and it was like, so I don't need to see the film then. So I think there was like 100 cards or something like that, and it's just one of those things where I don't know why, but I just the next summer I collected all the ones for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. That it was a similar format of like 5 or 6 cards for like 20p with like some bubble gum.
I'm just like really hoping though, like the first one you got was like the Shredder has been thrown off the roof by Splinter.
Yeah. So I remember like every bit of money I had buying all these trading cards for this film that I'd never seen, and I had the full set, and I don't know what happened to them. Because there's stuff from that time, like my badge that I still have, 20-something years on. Almost 30-something years on there, which is a bit frightening.
Oh God, no! Don't make us all feel old.
Yeah, so that was kind of all I knew about the film was these trading cards. Like I said, my friend had like the 7-inch of Bat Dance. So obviously I knew Bat Dance. I remember watching the full video for Partyman. When it was on Def 2, I mean, this is about as British as you can get now, which was the strand, the youth-oriented strand that ran after Star Trek on a Wednesdays on BBC Two.
Bloody hell.
And it was the brainchild of Janet Street Porter, and what it meant is you'd have like you had Star Trek, which was being rerun at the time from the beginning. I managed to watch the original series of Star Trek from beginning to end because it was on BBC Two for some reason just before they started showing Next Gen. And you'd have like that 45-minute slot, and then after that you'd have another 45 minutes, and in it would be various things that young people would like. One week there was just the full length, 8-minute Partyman video from beginning to end was just premiered for no reason on a Wednesday on BBC Two.
Bliss.
And so I remember watching that and being like, what on earth is going on here? And I wasn't really like even a Prince fan until Diamonds and Pearls came out, so it was a couple of years before I kind of got into Prince. So aside from like the logo and having this bootleg Batman badge, like, and the trading cards, like that's all I kind of really knew, about the film until when it was on. I think it was either 3 or 4 years later when it was on like BBC One. I want to say like on like probably around a Christmas time, something like that, where they had like a big kind of fanfare of the premiere of this film. Which is something obviously they do a lot less now because there's tons of films and there's tons of channels. So
I think I can remember that happening as well because I would have been like, I guess about 4 or 5 at the time. I think I do remember like a Christmas, like a big screening of Batman's on TV.
Yeah,
this is huge.
Yeah, it was like an event. And the weirdest thing is, I remember when they got to the end credits. They sped the end credits up, so they were just like, the first couple of credits, they come up, and then it's just like, shoom, straight up, like as fast as they can possibly go. The credits are like scrolling by, and they didn't even get to this part of Scandalous. Like it was literally like about 30 seconds of Scandalous, and then they just cut it off, and they just had Prince sing the word Scandalous, and that was like the end of the film. I like vividly remember that, like the first time I'd seen the Batman film. At that point, then I was a Prince fan, so I was looking forward to kind of listening out for the songs, and it got to kind of to playing Scandalous, and I was like, "Wait, this song seems very very short, like 30 seconds of it, and they were done." But yeah, so and then I didn't see Batman Returns or Batman Forever at the cinema. I wasn't really someone who went to the cinema, when I was younger, and the cinema that was in our town that was like a 2-screen cinema. Where I saw Back to the Future Part 3 and Gremlins 2, that had kind of closed down, by the time you got to like Batman Forever, so there wasn't really a cinema near me that would, that I could go and see it at. So, and then the cinema that I go to regularly now, that opened in like 1997 after Batman and Robin had already been out. So, we avoided getting that at that cinema. But yeah, so, that was kind of, and, in terms of like the character overall, when I was younger, this feels like I'm getting extremely British for no particular reason, but there was a strike of some of the technicians who worked on the morning television show that played on ITV, which was called TVAM. That during that strike, they couldn't because they couldn't have people in the studio. They used to just play 1966 Batman episodes, but they would cut them up so that they would be in like 15-minute pieces, and they would basically take like 4 days to get through like 2 episodes, because obviously there was always the cliffhanger. And they inserted their own fake, same bat channels, same bat time, like at the end of like a 15-minute, it just go to like a commercial break, and they just throw that in.
This sounds familiar. Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that's all I remember about the Batman. Was kind of like the 66 show being played as filler while a strike was going on with electricians. So it's such a weird kind of, and it's, I haven't really, revisited, the 66 Batman, and obviously I was aware of the 89 Batman coming out, and, obviously I own that. I mean, not mostly because of Prince, but, I enjoy the film. Batman 89's, from my point of view, it's a really good film. I really enjoy it. Even though, obviously, as you can kind of see the script being rewritten late, towards the end, where it's just like, things are kind of being thrown in, and all, so that kind of becomes more obvious. Although I'd say I probably enjoy Batman Returns a little bit more, because
you're not on your own there. We've had I think it's grand majority of people we've had on. Most of them been like, actually, the next one's the best of them, I think.
For sure.
Yeah. So
yeah,
imagine hopefully when we start covering that, there's going to be even more enthusiasm than we've had already. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't really watched Batman Forever in forever. Pardon the expression. And Batman and Robin. I saw it at the cinema. I've probably maybe seen it once or twice since. It's. And then, funnily enough, I saw, Batman Begins, Dark Knight. So Batman Begins and Dark Knight each, I think, twice at the cinema. And then I saw Dark Knight Rises 8 times at the cinema.
Whoa.
With a number of different people. Like each time it was someone else wanting to see the film. So I was like, okay, I'll go again and see this at the cinema.
Wow.
So
it's a lengthy sit as well. So it's not as if it's like, it's like an hour and a half. It's like the chunk of 3 hours. That movie.
That 2008 though, that was a warm summer. So I was grateful to be somewhere inside, nice and cool. So, or should I say 2000? It was 2012, wasn't it? Sorry, 2008.
Yeah, Rises was 12.
Yeah. So in terms of like the character, I wouldn't, like if I'm going to pick like superheroes, I wouldn't say like I'm a huge fan of, kind of it's kind of like the idea of just someone, their superpower, as they said in the hilarious, Justice League film, is that he's rich, and it's like, I can't relate to someone being, a multiple billionaire, and that is so they can, get whatever they want, as obviously, the Joker said, those wonderful toys. Like, I understand the appeal of the character, obviously he has a great kind of costume and stuff like that. And obviously he has, this long mythology and everything. And on my wall there is, a Batman poster and a Batman and Robin poster. But it's not like if anyone was like, "What's your favorite superhero?" I don't think Batman would be in my like top 5, because it's just like, I feel like there are other more compelling kind of comic book heroes who kind of have a more relatable journey than starting the film being rich and then finishing the film being rich with a beautiful girlfriend.
It is intriguing that they can make the hero even slightly likable when he is just a rich guy who can get whatever he wants. Like you think instantly, I hate that guy.
Yeah, he is the 1%, beating up the 99% most of the time. Pretty much.
Yeah, I think obviously the character has to be sold by the actor mostly, and obviously Adam West had a certain kind of charm to him, so you kind of went along with it. I think Michael Keaton, out of the kind of the three Batmen that you have in these films, I think he gives the kind of I don't know. I would say he gives like the kind of a passable performance in the suit, but I think I think when he's just Bruce Wayne, I think he kind of is more interesting than Val Kilmer or anything that like George Clooney is doing in those films.
Oh yeah, Val's
that's
blank.
the thing that makes that's what makes the film interesting is like the way that he kind of portrays Bruce Wayne. I think that's the thing that sells this more than anything is he's this kind of weird recluse, but it's like, well, if you were a billionaire whose parents had died, you probably would end up going in that direction, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Though obviously the real world tells us that billionaires like to spend their time strapping a car to a rocket and sending it to Mars for no reason.
But that's not too dissimilar to the kind of things Bruce Wayne does, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It's going to be all research for some sort of bat weapon. He's just like, well,
it's a bat wing. He's coming soon. Yeah, we should probably wrap this up. This has gone long again. But you'd think the credits episode would be shorter. You'd be foolish to think that when it's us involved. But before we do...
Yeah, I was going to say there was 1 minute of as if when I was talking about the credits that I think ended up going for about an hour and a half, and then I kind of cut that down to about an hour. And it was about literally the last 45 seconds of the film. So, it's not unusual for this to happen.
No. Well, if there's anything especially good that we cut, we'll release it as a bonus. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But before we go into the dark, dark night... Darren, would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you online and your plethora of shows?
I feel like if I list them, it just sounds like some kind of really weird, very specific form of bragging. But I mean, previous to this, I wasn't the host. I was mostly the producer and editor of A Talking Cast, which is a minute-by-minute podcast about the children's film A Talking Cat. ! Exclamation point.
Don't forget that.
And yeah, that's the most important selling point of it. The final episode of which we managed to get the writer of the film as a guest.
That's so cool.
So that was a fun episode. And then after that, I did The Boy Next Door as the cast next door, minute by minute. And as I've already mentioned, I Clueless in the As If minute. If you search for any of those in iTunes, I'm sure you'll find them. But currently, I am going through Prince's back catalogue, track by track, on Prince Track by Track. And you can find me on Facebook at Prince Track by Track, and you can find me on Twitter at Prince Podcast, or you can find me under my own name on Twitter if you so wish.
Yeah, well, make sure to check out all those shows because every one of them's good. To be honest, there isn't a bad one among them. And the beauty of the Prince one. You learn new things if you don't know about the tracks, but if they're your favourites, you still learn new stuff. It's all good. It's brilliant. And me and Niall have been on, so, at least check those out. Come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Although you'll stick around for all of them if you do that because the whole concept's fantastic. It's brilliant. And
it's going to take me like another year to get through them at least. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, the beauty of this format is they're there forever. You can just check them out whenever you want, at your leisure. But check us out as well, which I'm sure you've already done, because we are on Facebook at the Batminute89 Listener Society. We're on Twitter at Batminute89, and Instagram. There's a Tumblr that I never use. Just look up the Tumblr. Send us a message on Tumblr and I'll use it. Go on. Nobody's done that yet. I've threatened this. But if you message me on Tumblr, I will reply. But most importantly, most importantly, give us a review on iTunes. That would be very nice. You would be the kindest person in the world. In fact, Niall, I normally check the reviews and read them out if we have a new one, but I completely forgot to, so that's going to have to wait. We'll have to wait.
Well, the thing is, because some people might think now, because this is the Friday episode and we're near the end of the end credits, that this is the last episode. No. We've got 1 more minute to go. So on Monday, we will be back for the grand finale. For the grim finale of Batminute 9 Season 1, because we will be back to do the rest, So
we will start your week off with a finale episode. It'll be great.
Yes.
It'll be a party. We'll have all the guests back. No, we won't. I can't promise that. No. That would be fantastic, but the amount of work that would take is stupid. But yes, join us again. We'll be back on Monday for one final Bat Minute 89.
Next time, a scandalous finale. There's credence given to stuntmen with contusions as Batman 89 reaches its conclusion. But as we bask in the dark of the night, what plans for the future will be brought to light? Find out Monday. Same Bat Pod,
Different Bat Minute.